Howdy, howdy. Alright, so this here is what I have been working on for the Necrotic Fog demo. Um, as of right now, I haven't worried about setting up a menu or a save system or anything like that. It's just a really straightforward demonstration of what play is like. So you can walk around, you can pick things up. E is your basic interaction function. As you can see by the lovely fellow running towards me, he's going to skewer my face. Different health potions and mana potions that we've picked up. You can choose everything from a steel sword to a rusty sword, and they affect your attributes. So, you can draw your weaponry. Each enemy has a unique set of health assigned to it based off of what I felt the enemy needed. So, these lovely spear guys, they can attack from a larger range, but sorry. Their health is lower, but their armor is higher because I put, well, armor on them. Armor, relatively straightforward. As you can see, they're all dinging away at my health. Your health is determined by a random variable that's assigned for each individual NPC and is reduced by your defense class and your shield modifier. So, as of right now, I have disabled character death animations, just so that way testing this would be a little bit easier. But it gives you a score based upon the number of enemies that you've killed. If I reattached the death animation, it would actually reduce that score each time that you died and then respawn you right at the beginning. It shows you the number of enemies that are currently active, the number of enemies that are, well, destroyed, as well as your health, mana, and current XP. Right now, XP, when you do eventually reach level 2, it does take a little bit. It just increases all of your stats, just making you universally more powerful. So the things that I would work on if I wanted to continue to put effort into this is adding a skill system where it highlights skills that you can put points into. The points that you put into it would increase the damage, range, etc. Adding quick buttons for stuff like heals and health potions. So, as you saw, it did take a little while for my health to go up. That's because my health can go to a negative number. You could easily fix that by just doing a basic branch at where it reduces your health, and if it would reduce it below 0, it plays the death animation and stops things. As you were able to see by me killing enemies, death animations are no big deal. Right now, because I didn't implement a magic system, the mana potions don't do anything, but they restore it just like the health would. It's relatively straightforward. So the big things that I want to try to emphasize, so that way you can at least see them, is the level design, the isometric fog that only goes to certain areas of the map, and just all of the logic that was implemented to make, all of this happen. Let me go ahead and exit the game so that way I can show you that. So, I have quite a few assets that are installed from other locations because, this wasn't to show off me designing a monster per se or designing animations for it. It was more just to show off the actual gameplay. So, the general layout is that you have your third-person blueprint. Your third-person blueprint calls on a mesh and an animation. Your animation goes through a variety of different blend spaces based upon the state that your character is in, from idling to combat. As you noticed, some of the early stuff that I did, like the like the pickup and the backpack, they have noises attached. I just did simple 2D animation noises spawning from your character location. Adding them to weapon swings would be super duper easy with this setup because each individual swing is either played as a montage or played as an individual animation, and you would simply attach the noise to, oh look, right here in the attack notifies. Each individual noise would be attached to the individual set of animations that you want. So you could just pop it in right here. So let's see here. 2D. So spawn 2D sound. You select the 2D sound that you want. You select the asset that you're looking for. So, I mean, air explosion's kind of random. Well, that was actually just kind of pathetic. Never mind. But you choose the 2D sound animation that you want. You'd plug it right in here, and every time that it launches that animation, it would play that sound. You can see in locomotion that you go through a variety of different stages, and each of these stages calls checks to see if you're actually able to commit to the animation that you perform. So I'm not going to compile or save that because I don't really want to do that right now. All of the enemies, it's pretty much the exact same boat. So NPC assets, your NPC has a base animation, various different blend spaces and montages that tell it how to act and when to act. I gave different types of attack montages to different types of NPCs. So when you go into your base NPC, you're able to select down here in the animations exactly which... I was selecting the mesh, that's why I didn't see it. Here we go. You can select which attack montages you want to play. So you can either go through the basic ones that you already have, or you can add new ones. And then in the enemy itself, you set the number of attacks that it has. So if we were to open up our lovely skeleton spearman guy, you can see that he's got space for all 3 montages, but we've only got the 2 montages assigned. Each montage runs an assignment that shows you where exactly in it triggers your attack at. And then when you trigger an attack, it shoots a ray from the actor location forward, seeing if it collides with the player. I use the same basic logic for assigning whether or not the player successfully hit. Unfortunately, that does mean that it's a little bit wonky. So what it's checking for is this pink capsule here. Okay. And as you can see, that pink capsule doesn't actually encompass the entire mesh. So sometimes it will send out its ray saying, did we hit that? And the answer is yes, but it wasn't able to tell because the capsules were overlapping too much. This could easily be fixed up by assigning each individual enemy a reference number inside the core blueprint and making it so that way there's an overarching blueprint that oversees all enemies spawned in. That would allow you to use group logic instead of having the enemies run around randomly. So, as of right now, enemy logic is... That was the airburst noise, and it thinks that I'm calling that animation. This is why I didn't save it. I didn't think that it was going to auto-save it. My bad. So I accidentally put in our animation blueprint in our event graph. There we go. There's that lovely sound. So why is it calling it so often? Ah, okay. Alright. It's because all of these are possible actions that can be taken off of the core action. So it was constantly saying, yes, this could exist. And that's why it made that lovely noise. So now we'll actually save and compile, so that way it doesn't play that beautiful noise again. Alright, so each enemy actually has a set of logic that currently drives it. Enemies spawn in at the four corners of the maps because that's where I put the spawn locations. They then choose a random point that they can reach, and they run to it. And then immediately after running to that point, as this lovely guy in the background is doing, it then chooses a point that is pre-assigned to run back to. That pre-assigned point is randomly picked from an array of points. There's currently like 8 points in it. 1 at each corner and like 4 in the center of the map. As soon as the enemy line of sight picks you up, they start rotating towards you and they start moving towards you. I do not have it set up to forget the player character, but setting it up would not be difficult. All we do is we just put a reset function at the end, and it would call the movement back. I also added a rolling animation set that disables your collision and prevents enemies from hitting you. At first, I was thinking about really focusing on making the game as playable as possible, but you know, implementing that would take a little bit more time, and only spending a couple of hours a day for a few weeks, I did what I could with the time that I was allocating to this, So yeah, that is just about everything. Um, Even though I did not make any of the materials or any of the animations, so I can't exactly distribute those because, well, I didn't actually make them. I can, however, use them however I see fit because, cool stuff of buying stuff. So yeah, let me actually show you one other thing, just so that way we can do that. I'm going to shut off the fog for a little bit. As you can see, the fog does everything from occlude the sky to stay close to the ground, to acting as a barrier to keep the player in. Beyond the fog, I didn't do too much because my focus was on occluding vision. So I just kind of created a point, and then I was like, alright, so the fog's thick enough that you're probably not going to see beyond that point. I spent quite a bit of time working on the little town, making it as presentable as possible. I actually really like what I came up with. Like, I think it's not too bad. Especially since I didn't, spend a crazy amount of time doing it. But regardless, thank you for taking a look. Let me know what you think. I did add the mana because I was going to add a magic system initially. Actually, if you take a look, let's see here. I was going to add a whole bunch more sounds as well. I mean, we've got grunts, we've got different types of materials hit. But ultimately, to save time, I decided to not do all of that. I've added montages in that could easily be attached to a magic system. The general idea of the montages is that when it plays, it notifies when it gets to a certain point. At that notify, it triggers something that's in the player animation or in the player blueprint that causes you to deal damage, heal yourself, spawn an item, the list is pretty much endless what you could attach. This one I was thinking of as kind of like a healing thing. Ooh, sorry about that. Oh goodness, that one's not working at all. Wonder what I was going to put here. So yeah. Um, if you have any questions, if there's anything you want me to clarify, it's all pretty straightforward. I got the majority of my meshes and animations from Mixamo, but I did also get a few from Unreal Engine, and specifically the Infinity Blades assets. All of the enemies are City of Brass enemies, which I think are free forever, for everybody. And the environment is pretty much all the Advanced Village Pack, which was free 2 or 3 months ago. I don't know if it's still free, so it's one of those things that I could use, but I couldn't like package and send it to someone other than me. If somebody other than me wanted to use it, they'd have to buy it, unfortunately. Such is life, you know? But yeah, that's just about everything. I hope you enjoyed. I know that I definitely learned a lot doing it, and yeah, thank you.